Welcome to the Grappling Grappling Rewind Podcast.
Welcome to This Week on the Grappling Rewind Podcast. On this week's show, we're going to recap. A lot of stuff, Emil.
Yeah, Third Coast Kumite 7, the women's. We're going to recap Polaris 14 squads, and we're going to recap Fight to Win 153.
As well as Sapatero Invitational, Krikorian versus Fisher. And we're also going to preview who's number one, Gordon Ryan versus Matheus Diniz, and Submission Underground, Mason Fowler versus Vinny Magalhães, who is amazing.
Somehow still walking around.
We talked about it last week. Like, his joints just like, he's fine. He got his leg broken. Now he's good to go. Two champion versus matchups. So, big show ahead of us. In news this week, the AJP ran their Miami Open, or not Miami Open. Usually it's the LA Grand Slam, but because California is currently shut down, Florida is open, and so they ran the US Grand Slam this year in Miami instead, and it happened. There were a bunch of cool matches. You can watch it all on YouTube. I've parsed through some of them. There were some fun finals matches. We just have too much stuff to cover today to go through all of them, but if you're interested, it happened, and there were some fun matches. It's still one of the best produced events for majors that there is, so I recommend if you're interested, take a look. I have nothing else. There's literally been no other news. I watched a bunch of UFC fights this weekend. I watched hours and hours of
UFC was great.
UFC was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
You got to watch Adesanya crush Costa.
He's on a different fucking level.
Dude, that was his 100th professional win.
Yeah.
100 wins.
Yeah.
He's like 100 and then 6 or 5 or 6 losses.
Yeah. And 4 or 5 of them were from professional kickboxing, where he was
5 of them are professional kickboxing.
75-5.
One of them is professional boxing. Everything else is all wins.
And yet people keep trying to stand with him. It's amazing.
Bro, get me to the ground.
Yeah.
You got the white belt from Costa. Like, yeah, I'm taking you to the ground.
Yeah. It just quickly to tie it back to actual grappling. Like when we were watching it, my friend and I were like talking about it, and like the commentators were like, yeah, Costa is, we're in championship rounds, and he's gonna like try to take it easy so he can like pace himself. I was like, even before the match started, I was like, that sounds like a terrible idea. Like, why would he do that? Why not just swarm and say, fuck it, I'm going for like a finish in the first 2 rounds and that's it,
So,
and hey, look at where it got him. So.
Yep. Also on that card was Jan Blachowicz versus Dominic Reyes, which was also a fun as shit fight that I watched, and we kind of talked about before the show. Again, this is not really an MMA show, but there was a shitload of stuff that happened this weekend, and so
it was an exciting card.
It was a fun weekend. It was a fun card. I enjoyed a lot of the undercard matches. Where do you want to start for this one? That's done with news. Let's move on to the recaps.
Start with Third Coast Grappling Kumite 7.
Mm-hmm.
This was fucking great. We previewed it last week. There's a lot of talent on this tournament. Third Coast is just continuing to kill it, and it's great to see them premiere an all-women's tournament.
Equal pay too, which is cool.
Equal pay.
10 grand.
It's about
for
time.
Women's Kumite's champion. It's cool to see women getting a big showcase event and getting paid out.
Yep.
So where do you want to start with this one?
Opening round, we have Nathalie DeJesus defeating Jenna Bishop via sweep in overtime. This was a pretty it was a war of attrition sort of during the regulation. Gets to overtime. Nathalie DeJesus hits a really clean sweep from closed guard. Just kind of like tips her over. They called it a lumberjack sweep, which I'd never heard before.
Yeah, I've heard that term used for that sweep before. The flow guys like to use that term for that sweep.
That's basically it for that match. Next up, we have Luisa Montero defeating Jessica Swanson via submission. This was fucking awesome.
The combo move.
Yeah, this was so dope. Basically, Jessica goes for a knee bar. Luisa pulls, just starts. They're both on their side, and Luisa just starts grabbing the back of Jessica's collar and
the horse collar grip there,
pulling her back into what sort of is like a crab ride rear naked choke, but I guess you said that there's a calf slicer
in there. There's a calf slicer there. Yeah. So because the leg is trapped under your own the calf is trapped under the shin there, as you turn back, basically you get trapped. It's not called a bear trap, but there's another term for this specific calf slicer. Really similar to what I'm blanking on the name. In the UFC, it's been hit, but this is a really like common position you see the calf slicer hit from. If you don't see it from an entry from the truck, you see it from this position, and then you go and you can finish this Imanari style with like the rear naked choke with the submission in.
It's gangster.
Yeah, it was a super gangster finish, and just like not a finish we see a ton. We see it. I think we see it a couple times a year on Fight to Win. We see this submission, but one of my favorite subs to watch because there's no way you're getting out of the calf slicer and the rear naked choke. So usually you're dead to rights because you can't spin because your calf's in there.
Oh, that makes sense because I was wondering why she wasn't like why Jessica was not getting her back to the mat. I was like,
can't.
What are you doing? Get your back to the mat. Come on. Like,
as soon as they pull you in and the knee doesn't collapse, but it bends a little bit, you effectively have no rotation anymore because your chest to back, and so it's such a hard position to get out of. The only way you can get out of it is basically making a bunch of space and getting back up, and so it's extremely hard to get out because you can't pull your leg out, you can't rotate to the side.
In the gi, they have the collar grip,
and so you can't get away where you need to get away, and so they can lock the choke and get you nice and close, and then you can hip forward to get the calf slicer there, or what most people do is they just like lock it in and just like start fighting for the rear naked choke, and then they start like flexing on the calf to maybe get you to move down to open up the neck. So it's a really great double threat submission.
Yeah, great submission. We'll call it a rear naked choke. Next up, we have Anna Carolina Vieira defeating Victoria Montrezor by tech fall 12-0.
Dude, I'm all confused. So I love like Flow has changed how they do their results here. Usually that's what we use for the show, and they have it laid out almost like traditional sports scoring where they have team result under the side, and I have not wrapped my head around it. So Emil, you seem to wrap your head around it well. I mean, I'm maybe a little slow here trying to figure some of these out. For Fight to Win, it's just a different way of looking at the scores, and so it's taken me a minute.
So Anna Carolina basically hits a straight armbar sweep from guard. One of your favorites.
I love the sweep.
Violin armbar.
The violin arm lock sweep, or it's called a gringo sweep.
Okay.
I will teach it as both because I learned it. I was like, this is a violin arm lock, and then I can sweep you over with it. And then someone like 2 or 3 years later was like, yeah, it's actually called a gringo sweep. It has a name. I went, oh, that's really cool. So I still call it both to this day.
This sweep sequence, Anna Carolina sweeps and ends up in mount. So that's 2 points for the sweep, 4 points for mount, for a total of 6 points.
And in third coast grappling, if you have 12 points, you tech fall.
So then what she does after that is
rides the mountain for a good bit.
Then she starts threatening a cross collar choke, goes to knee on belly, and then goes back to mount.
And so this is where I kind of got confused because you said it best. Like the commentary called it, the refs called it, and she knew to do it. And she scores 6 more points, gets a tech fall, gets the victory. I thought Third Coast Grappling used IBJJF scoring, and I'm definitely probably wrong about this, but my understanding was that when you go from a top mounted position, if you haven't gone through knee on belly, you can go back to the position to get knee on belly points. So you can go from mount, 4 points, back to knee on belly, 2 points. And then if you go back to mount, because you didn't go back through the guard, you then cannot get mount points again. Because this used to be a thing in yesteryear before I was competing, is that guys would go to side control, knee on belly, side control, knee on belly, and like they rack up points that way. I thought the same applied for this transition. Obviously, I'm wrong, but I wanted to bring it up because in my head, I forgot that you could do this.
This is a good strategy. It's a very stupid rule.
I also come out that aggressively.
No, it's fucking stupid. We, the spectators, the sport of jiu-jitsu, did not benefit from that sequence. Okay, again, great strategy. Anna Carolina's fucking amazing.
Oh yeah, and
she's brilliant.
Rules, you definitely should do it.
And you should do it. It's just the rule set is stupid. And also, I think that it doesn't make sense. Knee on belly as 2 points it has never made any sense to me. So we really need to strategize a better way of doing that because we got robbed from some more good jiu-jitsu.
That's a much stronger take than I thought you would.
It irks me, but there's nothing more to say on it. So next up, Nathalie Ribeiro defeats Andressa Sintra via sweep in overtime. In the semifinals, Luisa Montero defeats Nathalie DeJesus via knee bar. This was fucking great. Luisa starts, basically she's in the sort of like top saddle position. She's like sitting,
but you can't throw the legs through because it's in the gi.
Right. And so she starts going for a toe hold. And then you saw it best. I actually didn't notice this until you pointed it out. She bails on the toe hold and launches into a knee bar on the far
Yeah,
knee.
because she has the toe hold on the outside leg, the leg that actually her legs are not in between, and so she's flexing it. She's up in like the seated position. She turns it over like real nice. So it's like that's a pretty deep toe hold, and from that position, you can really crank into. You can crank into it really well. It's hard to finish on the outside leg, but Jesus kind of comes up to like defend, and Montero just switches to the leg, gets the knee bar, and what she does, what I really like, is she's able to trap both feet. So she's going for the knee bar on one leg, and with like the crook of her other arm, she's able to keep DeJesus's leg, the other leg that would normally push off of the butt or push off of the hands, like trapped with her hands. She hips into it and like gets a little bit of adjustment there, but because she has both legs and she's already down into the knee bar, DeJesus can't go and fight the hands either because she has both legs. She's able to get the sub. It's a really nice like transition between all those things.
It's an
there.
awesome transition. It's great control, great adjustment, just tremendous finish. And what's so impressive about this is, Nathalie was my pick to win.
Yeah.
Because her accolades are
and
absurd.
they talked about this on the broadcast, is that they'd fought recently. I think Howell said it. That DeJesus was up, I think, the most recent 2 times that they had faced each other. And I was like, okay, that's what I had thought last week on the show. And, it's cool to see Luisa, make just the adjustments and get it done.
Stacked talent.
And by sub, too, which is like usually when it's a close match back and forth, or you've dropped the last 2 against someone, you usually don't come back via sub, so it's cool to see her make adjustments and like be able to get that done.
Next up, we have Ana Carolina Vieira defeating Nathalie Ribeiro via decision. This is a pretty slow match with Ana passing. That's about it. Mm-hmm. On to the finals. Ana Carolina Vieira defeats Luisa Montero via decision. This match started to heat up mostly in the last 2 to 3 minutes. With Luisa attacking.
I wouldn't really say it was a feeling out process in the beginning, but it was just like both were sort of looking for what they wanted.
Yeah, I mean, it was extremely slow. And there was minutes where there weren't even really grip changes. That's the level.
There's 10 grand on the line. I want exactly this and nothing else. You're talking about it with like Levi Jones Lear. It's like, hey, I'm going to do the thing that I want to do, and you're going to have to fight around that, especially when there's money on the line.
Yep. So that's how that match went. There's also a couple of super fights on this card. We have Lucas, the Hulk Barbosa.
So that was the finals.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Ana Carolina takes that via decision in overtime and wins.
She wins
10 grand, which is awesome.
Yeah. We've seen her now win 2
50 grand, I think.
Big ass
I think
tournaments.
Black Belt CBD was 40 grand, and this is 10 grand. And then we've not seen her a ton. I think we've seen her at some other majors and some other events, but like 2 big tournaments you've been in, 2 of the biggest, highest paid women's tournaments ever, and you've won both of them.
Yeah, with like top level talent,
Yeah.
world class talent.
And look good. So, happy to see more of her. Definitely could do what Rodolfo did and like be real impressive for her entire career. So other super fights on the card.
Lucas the Hulk Barbosa defeats Guillermo Augusto via decision. So kind of unusual stuff that we saw from Hulk during regulation. We saw a calf slicer.
We did.
Which I would not have put money on as
I'm trying to think of like other leg locks. I think Hulk has leg lock wins.
There's leg locks and then there's calf slice. You know what I'm saying? Like calf slicer is a very.
It's not a common. We saw it twice on this card, but like he didn't finish by calf slicer. But it's not a common sub we see a ton of. I'm trying to think of any guy that I can think of or really point to that I know as like, oh, he's a calf slicer guy, and I really can't.
I mean, we see the 10th Planet people go for it more than
they go
normal.
for it, but it's like guys that routinely finish them.
Yep.
Like, there's not a lot of them.
Yeah. So that was cool.
And in the overtime, Hulk basically spends a good portion of the time on the back of Augusto here. And
without the hooks.
Without the hooks. And Augusto does a really great job. But Turtle, they go through all these different transitions. And Guillermo just keeps fighting that last hook off. And, Hulk is diligent with it, keeps body and chest pressure on Guillermo for most of the rolls and transitions. Never is quite able to secure the back position, but because Further Coast Grappling judges the overtime as the deciding factor for victories, he gets it done because, very dominant back position for the majority of the overtime, and he wins the super fight.
Next up, we have Gustavo Batista defeating Vinicius Trator Ferreira via decision. Just kind of two guys try to impose their will on each other.
Yep, real even match. Not a ton of
like definitive moments.
Yeah, really,
you know.
that's the best way to put it.
Yeah.
You know, good match, but definitely not as action packed as some of the other matches on the card. But
Yep.
great. I think this is Third Coast Grappling's last Kumite that they're running. So I think they're going to move back to they're running one of their big events coming up. I want to say in November.
Like just straight super fights, or
What they used to do, like
Yeah.
not have the tournaments, just go back to like the super fights with like the main cards, the undercards, in a kind of more traditional format. So, but it's been great to have these $10,000 Kumites. They've paid out $70,000 to the winning athletes in like 3 months or something. I think Third Coast talked about in the last 3 months they've run like half of their events ever. So it's been cool to watch these guys, really turn into almost like an every other week, at least once or twice a month event. I'm super happy with it. I'm loving the bigger mat space. Like that was such a huge change for this event. It was a really nice takedown that Hulk kind of drives forward, that he has the space to continue to work with that they wouldn't have had before. So I like that they've made changes. I'm really happy with it. Like great to see everyone getting paid out, the women getting paid out, and it was great. Anything else?
that's it. Do you want to do Polaris 14 squads?
I'm intimidated by this, man.
Hey,
There were a lot of matches on this.
there's
one.
a lot of
You want to
matches.
start with Polaris?
I mean, we can paint a broad picture. We'll go through the results, talk about the matches that we think were exciting. But broadly speaking, this was a quintet style team tournament or team competition. We'll call it
team battle format.
So 8 men on one team. That's Team Europe and 8 men on Team UK and Ireland, and 4 men from each team were under 75 kilograms and 4 were under 95 kilograms. The way the format works is kind of like quintet, where you basically you're winning until you lose, is how our friend Alex has always put it, but essentially you can only win by submission. Anything else results in people getting knocked out. If it's a
Right.
draw, both people get knocked out.
And basically, in quintet style events, you're trying to have your team have guys remaining at the end. In this Polaris squad style event, you're trying to accrue points. So if
Right.
you win, if your guy on your team submits the other guy's team drops that guy and he's now inactive, and your team gets a point, and your grappler goes on to face the next guy from their team.
Right.
If there is a 75 kilogram guy that beats a 95 kilogram guy, your team gets 3 points, and then if 95 kilogram guy beats a 75 kilogram guy, it's just 1 point.
Right.
And at the end of 40 minutes, there's like a reshuffling, and there's a halftime, and then
you start all over.
you start all over again for the second half,
Right.
and everyone's back in, and then you do it again.
whichever team has the most total, we'll call them match points.
Yeah.
By the end, wins. And there are some timeouts, although we didn't see those.
No, well, there weren't a ton of submissions on this, and so
There's only one submission.
there's only one submission, and so with how everything ran, we didn't kind of see a lot of the. There's a bunch of other rules that are in this event, but we didn't see a whole lot of those kind of come into play because there was only the one submission. So we never saw a guy run through 3 people, get tired, him get pulled. There was a bunch of other options that were available to teams that they didn't have to implement because it turned into almost like super fight,
Right.
with you trying to submit the guy to earn points.
Right. I will say, Maine and I were talking about this beforehand. This is probably the only time that I would suggest a longer match time. Right now, the match times are 5 minutes.
Yeah.
It's great. The matches were really exciting.
Dude, the matches were awesome. For this, I'm not usually hot on draws, but all of these matches worked. I can't point to one match. I was it was a little slow. All these matches
They were
good.
all
They had
active.
good stalling rules that never got implemented.
Yep.
And all the guys on all the teams were looking for activity and to win their matches. And so as a result, we got 16 really good matches that only ended in one submission, but they were fun to watch.
They were really fun to watch. I would say a 6 minute would probably this would benefit from being 6 minutes.
I think if we get an extra time, at least it gives people. I mean, again, at the top level, most of the people on this card were really top level European, UK, Ireland talent. Giving them a little more time to work potentially may
And
be what is needed.
honestly,
to get this up.
for one person to get tired, sometimes that's what you need, you know.
You need the extra minute there where one guy goes like takes his foot off the gas a little bit and then starts to get snatched.
So with that, we'll get into the results here. In the first half, Ash Williams and Eduardo Teto Rios draw. This was standing mostly. One thing that I do want to say is Ash jumps a triangle. Does a flying triangle while they're standing. We see that several times from Ash.
I was wondering. I was like, are there slams? Because he gets
slams.
He gets lifted all the way up, and I was like, ooh, this is like a fight to win special.
Yep, no slams. With the last 15 seconds, sorry. Ash Williams hits a fucking scissor takedown into saddle. Honestly, looked like he was working a good leg lock, but just didn't have enough time.
Had there been 6 minutes, again, does he jump that
I
later?
think he
Does
finishes
jump it
that
earlier, but the entry was pretty good. You saw Rios kind of be like, he kind of knew where he was going, but again, Ash is like definitely the smaller guy, definitely the quicker guy, was just able to get the positioning, jump it in a little faster than Rios could, get out of it.
Next up, we have Bradley Hill and Matheus Szczynski drawing. This was kind of like a lot of inverted guard from Matheus. Bradley throws in a steaming lock at the end, last minute, but neither could actually get much going. So next up, Jed Hugh and Camille Wilk draw. Aggressive body lock passing from Jed looked really, really great. Camille answering with great leg entanglement. So really, really great back and forth here. Jed gets a beautiful pass just by dancing over the legs. Just one of those.
I like this. Like the river dance pass.
Yeah,
where you're just like, I'm just running through the guy's guard, and he's just like, you're trying to play the hand fight game, you're trying to pummel the legs, and one guy's just on top using that, upward stance to just walk through your legs.
And
beautiful to see.
Not only does he pass, he gets to an arm triangle with 17 seconds left. Again, 6 minutes. Maybe that's a submission.
Right.
Next up, we have Kieran Davern drawing with Marcin Held. This was a fucking awesome match.
We also you see Marcin Held, and you know how good
what he's going to do
is in the quintet format,
and what he's going to go for, and we saw him go for it
a bunch.
Kieran hits a beautiful butterfly sweep into side control and goes into a Darce choke from there. Marcin's able to get back to half guard. Marcin hits a fucking tornado sweep into a knee bar. That was
neato.
Fucking awesome. So great. Goes for another knee bar with 37 seconds left and gets a sweep off of it. Again, 6 minutes. Who knows what happens there? Next up, Taylor Pierman.
And put that soundbite at the end of every match. Again, in 6 minutes. Never know.
Taylor Pierman draws with Santeri Lilius. Great back and forth here. Taylor hits a beautiful ankle pick and actually goes for it again in a later match. Mm-hmm. He's clearly very, very good at it. Dives for a body lock and back take, very close back take off the mats. Next up, Tom Halpin actually submits Dinu Bucolet. Tom starts off the match with a high elbow guillotine into a near pass. But what happens is Tom is in seated guard. Dinu starts passing.
Almost like the butterfly guard position.
Guard position.
Legs in.
But Dinu has his arm in as though he's going for an over-under pass, but he has not rolled Tom onto either hip to really start to, to go for that over-under pass. And Tom reads it like a fucking book and switches his hip insanely quickly. You have to watch this finishing sequence.
The whole finish, I watched it a bunch of times. I took screenshots
really
and looked at
fast.
Because the way that Tom locks up the triangle, he doesn't lock it up traditionally like that straight on position.
It's also a reverse triangle.
Yeah, but it's locked up from the guard. The way he does, he gets on his hip and he just opens his legs and he's there. He's on the side already when he locks this up. It's not the traditional looking
straight
at someone
on,
straight on.
In fact, the actual finish occurs when Tom is basically more or less inverted, and Dinu, and he has his reverse triangle. Basically, he's able to get the tap from Dinu. So really, really great finish. This was the deciding moment.
Yeah, it's a 6 match, I think.
Yeah, something like that.
I think it was a 5th or 6th match in. He gets a point. So okay, cool. We have points on the board. At least we're not getting a weird thing at the end.
Because Tom won by submission, which is the only way to win a match, he stays on. And so Tom Halpin stays on. Tommy Pulkkinen comes out to fight him. That match ends in a draw. This is a lot of double-seated open guard, steam of locks, and leg entanglements.
Yeah.
Both of them get sent back now. Dara O'Connell and Tarek Hopstock draw. Tarek is seated. Dara's pressure passing. That's about it. Dominic Dillon draws with Matheus Szczynski. This is interesting because Matheus has come back out. He was inactive before.
Yes.
So that's something that I have to figure out how that rule works.
It was the halftime.
No, this halftime not yet. This is the last match before halftime. And this was a partial match because what they do is they go till 40 minutes exactly, which is really interesting. So this match was 2 minutes and I can't remember, 40 seconds long.
Oh, that makes... Okay, I missed that on the broadcast.
Right?
That's
so
why. Because I was watching...
I didn't know how this
was
was going to work. They didn't really say in the rules. They didn't describe this very well. They go to 40 minutes exactly. Mm-hmm. The teams must be competing for 40 minutes. And so because there was a submission that didn't go till the full 5 minutes, there was still a little bit of extra time left.
So there was an extra
So
match.
there was like a half match that occurred. They didn't have a full 5 minutes to work. And in fact, something might have happened in this match. Matheus gets a leg lock attempt into the back take, gets a body lock with a minute 40 to work. So if that was a full match and a full 6 minute match at that might have been a submission there too. So this is where the halftime occurs.
Great time for a super fight.
Great time for a super fight. Fionn Davies submits Magnolia Laska via rear naked choke. We see.
Dude, I loved the passing sequence here that Fionn hit.
It is
hands on the hips and just rotating Laska's guard over and over and just walking, and then eventually she just turns the hips and just snakes around, gets the side control, then takes that, gets to the back. She's on the back and she's doing something really interesting on the back. She's really, really high up on Laska's back, where Laska's head is almost in below her chest because she's trying to walk her legs, and all she wants to do is trap both arms with her legs. And she works this for a while, and then eventually she determines that Laska's getting a little too low, slides back down, throws the body triangle in, and just starts fighting the choke, and eventually gets it. But the whole sequence, again, it's textbook what Fionn Davies does. Yep. And it's cool, passes the guard, beautiful passing, very quickly usually gets to your back. We don't usually see her playing from the top position a ton. She will very quickly get to the back on most folks.
Yep.
Gets to the back, and then good luck getting her off your back.
Yep.
Gets the win.
Yeah. Just dominance by Fionn as per usual.
Oh, commentary was great on this one, by the way.
Yep.
They were explaining when people had met, they went through the history between Fionn and what her accolades were on Polaris. Josh Palmer and that whole team did a great job, and I always love hearing those guys because they're just professional, and it feels like real good commentary
and insightful and just everything. They're A+. They're the gold standard.
Yeah.
Second half, we have Ash Williams at under 75 kilograms going against Marcin Held, which is under 95 kilograms. So big size difference here. Mm-hmm. Ends in a draw, of course. Ash is much smaller. Ash has great arm drags. I really need to work on that. And just able to off balance Marcin pretty well. We saw a flying triangle from Ash. Also, we saw Marcin Held get to his patented sort of deep half knee bar, and he hyperextended Ash's leg.
Dude, he injured Ash. They talked about it because he was kind of limping, and apparently this is why he was taken out, is because he didn't tap to it, but his leg still got a little
it was Tom Halpin got taken out.
Did I mess that up?
I thought it was Tom. Yeah, because Ash, I think, might even have another match later. I think he does have another match later. He has one versus Dino Bucalet
at the end.
So yeah. So
last match.
I'm pretty sure it was because the commentator said it was the guy who got the triangle. So
yeah, it was, okay. So I must have messed this up. The knee bar is really cool. The camera angle is great because you can see it's a dog bar.
Yeah,
Marcin Held hits that patented dog bar.
Ash's leg is fucking hyperextended.
Well, it goes from like Ash bends it, and then Marcin does a great job like hipping through and basically like flipping the knee line so it's straight, and then lifts up, and the match finishes as Marcin's trying to break Ash's knee in half, and you're like, oh, he might get it, but Ash is good. He just holds the position. He doesn't try to fight and move, because once you fight and move in that position, the person can hip in further. He just like stays there and is able to just like pull straight, and Marcin's not able to get it. But I love the entry, because Marcin hits this entry a couple of times in the entire tournament, but you can see him looking for it over and over again.
He also
this was
like
the best piece.
Body locks basically through the deep half. It's really interesting.
There was one match you could see the camera. He's basically, it looks like he's almost tapping on the guy's back, and he's just trying to get leverage to throw his hands over to just lock up like the tips of his fingers in an S grip, because he's so strong once he gets there to just rotate through. And it's something I see people use before, and I've had people use on me, and I always kind of forget how strong of a gripping sequence that is. Once you're body locked there, you can just rotate your hips around and use the opponent as a fulcrum, and it's really cool to see him use that here.
Yep, great technique. Great match. Next up, we have Kieran Davern and drawing with Tarek Hopstock. Nice aggressiveness from Kieran. Bradley Hill draws with Camille Wilk. There's a big size difference, but otherwise this match is not remarkable. Jed Hugh versus Matheus Szynski. Lots of leg entanglements. Dominic Dillon draws with Tommy Pulkkinen. Pulkkinen going berimbolo off the bat into a leg drag. That was dope. And then
also surprising, like not a move you see very frequently in
Nogi, yeah. And Pulkkinen then going into a Kyotera footlock, using that as a sweep to come up. Great pressure passing, body lock. Pulkkinen.
This was a really fun match. Like really good dynamism from Buchanan. We just saw him like this is one of the matches that kind of spoke to like why I think the rule set is good, because if it forces these kind of matches, like where guys are willing to put it on the line, throw a lot of subs, and like not just look for cool, I'm on the back, or I'm like getting to the back, like, and just like fight for that position for the entirety of the match. Guys are willing to move off to other positions. I really like.
And honestly, I would say like the majority of the matches we saw were like that. So. Taylor Pierman versus Eduardo Teta Rios ends in a draw, of course. Taylor hits a dope omoplata onto the back. Dara O'Connell draws with Centauri Lilius. There's a really great pass that Centauri hits that is like part Toriando and part sort of like leg drag, where he just really expertly puts his shin to block Dara from regarding. Really awesome. Match ends with Centauri applying an arm and guillotine. Next up, we have Ash Williams for his third time tonight versus Dino Bucolet. This ends in a draw. Dino hits a fucking flying Kimura from standing into a Kimura trap, rolls off the mat. I am shocked that the refs did not hit Ash with a warning here, because that was a legit sub.
Yeah,
and that was a legit fucking fleeing the mat. Yeah, absolutely. And according to their rules, there should have been a warning if Ash did that a second time, loss of a match point.
But that was the finals.
That was the final. That was the last one. Ash hits, goes for another flying triangle into a flower sweep and mount. But yeah, so that's the last of it. Team UK and Ireland wins with 1 match point due to Tom Halpin.
Fun event, honestly. Even like I am usually not a fan of draws. Like I've said on the show, like they're usually matches that are like it doesn't fit with a narrative that I can like talk about on the show.
Well,
and
exactly.
Make entertaining. But these matches were all fun matches to watch.
They were
I
fun.
wish there was something.
We still saw one team decisively win.
Yeah.
And so the narrative is not disrupted. So the draws don't feel frustrating to me anyway.
I think that's why it works. I would love to see more. I love to see guys like go through multiple opponents. Like I really love that aspect of this format. We weren't able to see that. I'm not sure how you do it. I think potentially
at 6 minutes.
I think to 6 minutes,
because then 6 minutes adds up a lot, right? Because everyone is getting that extra minute,
right.
And if you have if you do have that multiple match, that adds a lot. That's a big difference.
Yeah.
We also
maybe make it like 90 minutes. Maybe make it a little longer to give opportunity. Maybe make the teams a little smaller. Maybe make a 6-person team or like a 4 or 5 person team. So then you're not, if it's 8 people, a 5-minute match, you get extra matches in there because of the 80 minutes in total with a longer match time.
5 is a good number.
Yeah.
You know?
I like the concept of 8. It just seemed like it was honestly, it was confusing for me to follow because I was trying to follow 16 different grapplers in a single event. And for me, that's kind of difficult because I'm not that smart.
Oh.
But for like, I think a slightly smaller team would make it easier to follow for me. But again, like first time they ran an event, a significantly different format than they've ever run before. And then honestly, most promotions have ever run before. And it worked out well, man.
Very entertaining.
Like, props to them. It was a lot of fun. It ran by quick. It wasn't like, it didn't drag because the matches were fire and the super fight was fire. And, you know, overall, like, fun event. Dude, the Fight Pass interface is so good, too.
Yeah.
It's just so clean. Like, the matches load. They have the markers where all the stuff is. It was just like, God, the interface is good.
Yep.
That's all I got for Polaris Squads. Watch it. Its Fight Pass is like, I think $7 a month or something like that. I've had it since it launched pretty much. It's a lot of fun for events like this. Any other kind of closing thoughts?
That's it.
All right. Let's move on to our recap of
Fight to Win 153.
Yeah, where are my notes? Here they are. Got it.
Okay. So this was headlined by Samuel Nagai defeating Johnny Grippo via decision. There was a lot of double-seated open guard here, kind of like feeling out. We've seen this certainly from Johnny. This is kind of like his bread and butter.
Yeah.
Is guard work. And this was a gi match. Which is really interesting. And, I mean, we saw, unfortunately, sort of the bane of our existence this past few weeks, especially in the Fight to Win format, the 50-50 double fucking ankle lock ending.
It's what you got to do. Yeah. We talk about it in the format, like Fight to Win, it behooves you to spend your time, especially if the matches are close, in the end, going for a sub. And the easiest sub that you can get, with that, especially in the gi, without having to pass or get through someone's guard, like, do the stuff and just that's super, super hard, is like, well, I can drop for an ankle lock and I can start going in the foot. There's a possibility I get it, but at least I'm going for a sub attempt and I can sub it, and then it comes down to the decision, like it's a much more even decision versus if I maybe can pass, maybe can't pass. It's like, it's sort of the meta that we're seeing in Fight to Win with how these events go, and in this match was that we saw Grippo for a good portion of time, like really belly down hard. We saw some different transitions from both guys to different ankle locks, belly down, belly up, and the judges gave it to Samuel and the guy on this one. That's sort of you can make an argument for either guy, but it's just really how you value the footlock attempts from both guy. I think is really how you choose this match.
Mm-hmm. Next up, we have Junior Ocasio subbing Marcelo Cohen via heel hook.
And that was submission of the night for the black belts. Dude, this is Juni's first defense of the bantamweight title for Nogi for Fight to Win, and dude looked good. It's a quick match too.
Punctuates it, yeah.
I talked to Juni a little bit about this. I was like, and he's going to defend this belt a bunch, I assume.
So Juni hits a fucking really nice knee cut slice to pass into side control, which was a whole bait. It was fucking wild. He waits for Marcelo Cohen to frame hard and then kick out with his legs to regard, and in the
he sets this up off the regard, like anticipating that the guy is going to regard.
Watch this finish. It's amazing. Smooth transition from like basically snatching up the leg during the regard into an inside heel hook, rolling through and getting that finish. Real nasty submission. Really, really sneaky setup. Very, very.
The setup is so cool because you watch him completely read that Cohen's going to, like, he is using the regard as a setup for the submission.
Yeah, it is very deliberate, and again, I loved it. It was very sneaky. Yeah. Next up, we have Talita Alencar defeating Heather Rafferty. And
she retains the Fight to Win Nogi title at flyweight. Oh man, so I'm using different results because the results were throwing me off. Like I talked about earlier, it was a good match. Alencar looks pretty dominant in this match. Really good top position work. Nice cutting out of the half guard in the top position with like an arm triangle. Just overall, looks dominant on top, and she retains I forget who she took that from. It's been a little bit since you saw Alencar, and I forget I always remember her match if I had to win 53 because I was like, remember being Matt's side. And I was like, oh man, this is like a showcase black belt women's match that I get to see like live. And that was one of the first like live women's matches, like black belt matches that I had seen. And so she retains the title. Looks good doing it. Next match we have
Amanda Tubby Allen defeating Patricia Fontes via submission. This is a
Patty Fontes head and arm choke. Another submission tonight for the black belts. Alquin basically switches her hips over. Nice, good pressure on Fontes. Really just textbook head and arm choke in the gi. Fontes isn't able to really get her shoulders off the mat at all in order to take any of the pressure off. And Alquin and Tubby just is able to squeeze, get the finish. And that was it.
Travis Clark defeats Chris Robinson via split decision.
And Travis Clark becomes the Fight to Win Masters. What is that weight?
220.
I think that's it's not heavyweight. Is it?
Oh, I don't know.
Is it heavyweight? 220 plus gi champion.
Gilson Nunez defeats Jason Bright via submission. Triangle choke. Alan Shibaro defeats Ken via split decision.
I think it's Ken Split via decision.
Aha. Thank you. Jackson Matos defeats Chris Orozco via decision. Eric Alquin defeats Cameron Couch via decision. Snow Samuel defeats Greg Gregar via decision.
I think that's Samuel Snow, even though it's written like that.
Aha. Actually, do you mind zooming in a little bit?
Yeah. Your eye's not so great, Emil.
Yeah. It's
Give me 2
tough
seconds.
to read. Dinko Bektik defeats Ivan Bozovic via split decision.
Better now?
Yeah, much better.
Cool.
Thank you. Sean Joseph defeats Enrique Rossi via split decision. Nikki Sullivan defeats Chelsea Lyons via split decision.
And that was Friday night for the black belts.
George Lopez defeats Chuck Adam via submission. Choke. Edmacion Moraes defeats Rodrigo Oliveira via decision. Christian Duran defeats Angel Lopez via decision. Vinicius Cavarro Garcia defeats Kyle Ramesh via choke. Gabrielle McComb defeats Sheila Lindsay via decision.
On to the judo match.
Ralph Lahund defeats Joe Chavins via 1 ippon to 0.
On to the brown belt matches.
Nicholas Wiley defeats Willie defeats Tony Oviedo via decision.
And Wiley becomes the Fight to Win 170-pound no-gi champion for the brown belts.
Colton Roloffs defeats Kevin McCormick via decision.
That was Friday night for the brown belts.
Colin Santana defeats Luca Ramachi via Darce choke.
And that was submission of the night for the brown belts.
Ulysses Aguila defeats Jairo Bautista via heel hook.
On to the purple belt results.
Ramiro Leon defeats Troy Mercer via armbar.
And that was submission of the night for the purple belts and becomes the 205-pound gi champion for the purple belts. That was Leon.
Emily Fernandez defeats Erica Barnes via decision.
And Fernandez becomes the bantamweight champion in the gi for the purple belts.
Abdul Karim Mubarak defeats Noah Villamaret via decision. Alfonso Cayu defeats Jay Arnold via decision. Shannon O'Shea defeats Mina Turner via decision.
That was Friday night for the purple belts.
Brandon Bennett defeats Eleazar Guardiola via decision. Jason Rivera defeats Dylan Martinez via split decision.
On to the blue belt results.
Noah Gutierrez defeats Victor Aguirre via decision. Dory On defeats Devin Brown via choke.
And that was submission of the night for the blue belts.
Mike Wolf defeats Jimmy Hernandez via decision.
And that was Friday night for the blue belts. On to the kids and teens matches.
Ames Hofger defeats Jet Thompson via decision.
That was Friday night, and Hofer becomes the 115 gi champion for the kids.
Carolina Vieira defeats Skylar Idell via decision.
And Vieira becomes the 135-pound champion in the gi for the kids.
Coco Blackwell defeats Coco Castillo via armbar.
And now Blackwell retains the Fight to Win Kids gi championship title belt.
Michael Brennan defeats Moses Cabrera via decision.
And Brennan becomes the Fight to Win Kids champion in the gi.
Anthony Olivas defeats Legacy Kuti via decision.
That was Friday night for the kids and teens.
Jonathan Mezhertiski defeats Michael Francis via split decision. Legend Kuti defeats Jordan Riddle via decision. Tyler Ard defeats Evan Wise via triangle armbar. And Layla Watkins defeats Catherine Lowe via choke.
And that was submission of the night for the kids and teens. So Fight to Win's not back this weekend, but Who's Number One is coming up. So we are going to preview that here in a minute. One other event happened this weekend I'll talk about. Zapatero Invitational took place. It was Keith Krikorian versus Emil Fisher. Krikorian is the champion at 155 pounds, and Fisher was the champion at 205 pounds. This was a very interesting match. This was a textbook Emil Fisher match. Fisher a lot of times would take what's the guard? What's it called when you lay down on your back and you let the opponent take top position? What's that guard called? Like dead fish guard or something like that?
I have no idea.
Fisher did that a lot, and Krikorian would circle north-south, and Fisher would try to like invert to a heel hook into an arm, and that was the dynamic of the match. And eventually goes to overtime, and Fisher elects for the armbar. And if you know Keith has drilled his submission defense on the armbar and in the overtime a ton. And Fisher locks it up well. Keith turns over and able to kind of pull his arm out. Keith selects the back, which is always what you want to do as the smaller guy and the bigger guy. And we've seen this before with Keith when he competes in open weight, either in BJJ Fanatics or when he fought fucking Buchecha. You always want to try to get to the back. Well, he wasn't able to do it on Buchecha, but goes for the back, starts in the back position, locks it in, blocks at the choke pretty quickly. He's able to get under Fisher's neck and get the submission, get the tap in overtime in the first and basically the bottom half of the first overtime. And now he is I don't know if he took the 205-pound belt from Fisher, but he had two belts. So now Keith is the double champ at Zapatero. We're going to see both these guys again this weekend on Submission Underground 18. They're both on the card. I think Fisher closes out the prelims, and then I think Keith Krikorian is the second on the main card. So fun event. You can find the whole match on YouTube. So where do you want to start? You want to start with Who's Number One or start with SUG?
Who's number one, man?
Who's Number One? So on our preview for Who's Number One, Gordon Ryan versus Matheus Diniz. I like that that's how they're naming them. It's not like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's just like the headline, Who's Number One, and then the headliner for that card. This one is headlined by Gordon Ryan versus Matheus Diniz in a 30-minute sub-only match. Matheus talked about this match a while ago on the podcast he did with Josh Hinger and Keenan Cornelius, and how he's like, I don't want to take a no-time limit sub-only match with him. I will take a 30-minute or a 20-minute match with him because of how hard I'm training right now, and that match came to fruition. Gordon Ryan is the absolute champion at ADCC and the under 99 kilogram champion at ADCC. Matheus Diniz is the 88 kilogram champion at ADCC, Gordon Ryan's previous championship division. So we're going to see these two guys fight. How do you think it goes?
Gordon Ryan. I mean, that's just a no-brainer.
It's in his preferred format, and he doesn't have to worry about points. And Diniz, we know how Diniz will like play on the outside.
He's a controller.
Yeah.
Diniz is a controller and specifically a denier kind of controller. So that's what we're going to see. Gordon
you just
Ryan
don't think in 30 minutes you think Gordon's going to start to get something going and be able to get some level of control and then work through.
I don't even know if Diniz can control Gordon. Gordon was in a weight class up.
Yeah.
At
but Gordon
ADCC.
wasn't even Gordon wasn't a big guy at under 99.
He wasn't big, and also Gordon, surprisingly, he goes with the flow, believe it or not. He doesn't try to push against stuff. He'll just find your weakness.
Gordon's not a guy in the even positions that he's going to try to impose his will on you. Kind of like what Gary Tony does. Really similar because comes Gordon Ryan training under Gary for so long.
But, I just don't see Diniz being able to lock Gordon down at all. That's not how that's going to work.
It would surprise me. I'm guessing that we're probably going to see Gordon pull a butterfly guard. We're probably going to see Diniz outside and then eventually sort of dive in and look for the body lock. I just don't think we're going to see him be able to control that for long stretches of the match in the body lock. He may get past the guard, but I see Gordon being able to re-guard and then being able to get under him. Now, I don't know if he's going to be able to get to the back or to be able to submit Diniz. It wouldn't surprise me, kind of given how Gordon's game, given the little mistakes you have to make to have Gordon be able to take something, especially because it's no points. Gordon's willing to play a little more open in his game and is not going to be concerned about, I got swept or I got scored on or he likes the no time limit submission only, but this is 30 minutes. he'll open up a little bit and he'll put himself in a place to like get what he wants done, kind of regardless of position. I'm not too familiar with how Diniz fights in these sort of formats because I haven't been able to pull any footage of that in the recent time. If it goes decision, I kind of want to lean Gordon because I feel like he will enter, especially in the Who's Number One rule set, he's going to be entering into things that they're looking for.
I don't think it's going to decision.
You think he subs him?
Yeah.
What do you think he gets him with?
Gordon subbing Matheus.
You think he gets to his back?
Yeah, I think rear naked choke. That's how I see it. Yeah, they're absolutely. This is Gordon sub just about everyone who wasn't Buchecha, and
I think 6'8". Who else didn't he sub?
I can't remember.
Yeah, I can't either. It's bothering me now.
But
we're talking about ADCC 2019. If you're curious,
Matheus was like a division below him. Like, yeah.
Yeah, but like Matheus is a bigger guy for 88 and Gordon's a smaller guy for 99. Like I don't think the weight class, the difference is as big as we sort of like. I don't know how much of a factor it will play. But again, I don't know how hard Gordon's been training. I don't know how hard Matheus has been training. Like it's that kind of weird X factor of the times we live in right now.
Gordon by submission. Yeah.
All right.
That's it.
I'm gonna pick Gordon by decision.
I kind of fucking lootly he subs him.
I kind of want to go sub. I think it's just a rule set he likes so much that he will open up. But Diniz is such a denier of like all those openings. Like Diniz will probably.
I mean, so is everyone that Gordon. Like Gordon is subbed. Just think back to like everyone that he's subbed where you're like, God damn it.
Yeah.
That's fucking ridiculous.
I don't know. I think he's gonna win. I just like it would be surprising to me to see Diniz subbed in Nogi, but if anyone could do it, it's Gordon.
Definitely, he can get.
Yeah,
subbed.
you're right.
I mean, fucking Hulk subbed him. Like, and that's not. I'm not saying Hulk is not good, but like,
you're saying that he's been subbed by guys on the level before.
Yeah,
and so it's like a guy that Hulk couldn't sub Gordon, and so he's been subbed by a guy that Gordon has beaten by decision.
No, I'm just saying that like Matheus has been finished, and Gordon is a finisher, and this is a super fight, so Gordon has no reason to hold back, and not like he holds back in general. So.
All right, you've convinced me.
Yeah,
that's reasonable. All right, next match. That's a fun match. I'm looking forward to that match. I like watching Gordon fight.
Craig Jones versus Roberto Jimenez in 5 minutes sub only.
15-minute sub only.
Sorry, 15. Yep.
I'm picking Craig by leg lock.
Yep.
Or toe hold or heel hook.
Yeah.
We've historically seen Jimenez struggle a little bit off and on with leg locks. We've seen him.
How does this match go if Roberto pulls close guard or gets there?
You think he's going to try with Craig Jones? I feel like...
Have we seen Craig Jones do a lot of close guard passing work and stuff like that?
I've seen him pass open guard a lot. His open guard passing is legit. We saw him like cartwheel or Tex Johnson with a Kimura sweep.
I mean, if I'm Roberto, like close guard, it like all day. Are you kidding me?
1 second into the match, he's going to jump close guard.
Yeah. Take the fucking leg attacks away.
I just feel like from the close guard, you don't do that. Like, unless you're able to maintain close guard, like, cool, you get on top of Craig Jones, even at mount, like, do you really want to be mounted on Craig Jones?
He doesn't sweep like he goes for the body lock back take.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point.
He goes for the fucking back.
Yeah, we're talking about Roberto Jimenez.
Yeah.
Ooh, this match got really... Because I was like, okay, I'm probably going to pick Craig by sub because we've seen Jimenez get subbed by Pedro Mourinho twice.
Yeah.
And by, was it Cyborg? By toe hold, right? Or
I can't remember.
But like we've seen Roberto historically have a little problem with leg locks, and Craig Jones is the best leg locker in jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
If not him or Lachlan. Oh, that's an interesting dynamic. If Roberto can get to the back.
We know Roberto has a fucking great close guard.
He's got a great close guard,
yeah.
And that combination, like double body lock that he does to slide under your right side arm on the left side of the camera, he gets it on so many people. I still want to go with my gut here. And say Craig Jones by leg lock.
I still think Craig Jones, but I'm just saying like
watching Roberto take the back wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, and we saw Craig lose by rear naked choke in overtime to Mason Fowler.
Right, that's kind of the other thing. But that's like the overtime is always weird to me. It's like
I'm saying like it's possible. Yeah. So if Roberto does get there, it's finishable. So
yeah. And we also saw him, Gordon Ryan choke him in overtime back at EBI.
Well, yeah, but there was a big size difference.
But I'm just saying, like,
Yeah,
that's, we're talking about overtime finishes and, like, rear naked choke. Have we seen it? Yeah, we've seen it, but only in overtime. So, interesting match.
Next up, Gabby Garcia versus Elizabeth Clay, 15 minutes sub only. Damn.
This is the match everyone wanted.
Yeah.
Elizabeth Clay has been heel hooking everyone. Technically still a brown belt. We can all play pretend. This is the match we wanted to see. Gabby Garcia. How does Gabby Garcia deal with a young up-and-comer that's been subbing everyone via leg lock? Like, Gabby is a very control, pressure-heavy grappler. Elizabeth doesn't care. Elizabeth is going to pull, and she's going to go for your legs over and over and over and over and over again. And Garcia, we've seen her slow down a little bit recently.
Also, like, how much has she been tested like that?
Versus a person who's, like, going to attritively just hit leg locks at the level that Clay is. I don't know. I'm honestly really interested in this matchup. I can see this. Again, this is one of those, like, binary matchups where it's, like, either Garcia from top position for the entirety of the match doesn't let Clay get anything going, or Clay via fast, like, flash heel hook sub, probably outside heel hook.
Yeah.
Neither would surprise me. I love matches like this because I'm like, I can't make a good pick because I can totally see both outcomes. Gabby does what Gabby does, and Elizabeth Clay does what Elizabeth Clay does. This will be not a huge jump up in competition for Clay because we've seen Clay over the past, like, 6 or 8 months consistently punch up, and really not punch up anymore, just, like, meet her level of competition and then submit that level of competition. I'm curious to see if she can do the same to Garcia. If she can, front runner for plus 60, 2021 or 2022, depending on what ADCC happens. Should be a lot of fun.
Next up, we have Cody Steele versus Dante Leon in 15 minutes sub only. This is going to be a great match.
This is going to be wrestling.
These
dudes are going to wrestle.
Cody, yep. We've seen that a lot from Cody recently. I'm picking Dante.
Yeah. I love Dante. Like, he just has that complete game. He's looked better and better every single outing. Again, Steele's looked better and better too. He had a nice match with Alec Balding at one of the, I think the last season #1 or the one before that, where he beat Alec Balding via decision. Had a lot of wrestling in that match too. Dante is a trials winner for ADCC. Alec Balding is a trials winner for ADCC.
Dude, yeah.
Dante's also a medalist.
Yeah, I was about to say, Dante also took fucking Lucas Laprise back. That was like,
forgot about that. But I had a brain fart for a second.
Come on, dude, that was ridiculous.
I was trying to think of, like, analogous things.
And I was high on Dante before that ADCC run, and he fucking
delivered. He
delivered.
We love. I mean, both these guys are great to watch. Like, we have a soft spot in our place for Dante because we watched him just, like, make that jump from, like, really, really good guy all of a sudden to, like, oh, you're ADCC medalist, like, level. So, again, if Steele can take this, though, real big jump up. It's also a big jump up in competition for Steele. I assume both these guys are going to wrestle. And I'm very curious to see how it goes when they get to the mat. Dante's knee bar game and back take game has looked good, but we've seen Steele is no stranger to the heel hook entries.
Yeah, I mean, on the mat, Dante's got, I think, a clear edge. So
I think give this to the veteran, give it to Dante. But I think this should be a fun match. These guys are going to wrestle.
Yep. Paulo Miao versus Gio Martinez, 15 minutes sub only.
We've not seen a ton from Gio recently. I think
really have not.
ADCC.
Yeah, that was. Oh no, he was on something since then.
Was he on Subversive?
I could have sworn we saw him in the past year.
Okay, a year. That was ADCC.
No, not at ADCC.
Oh, sorry, within the past year. Okay, because ADCC was this week last year. Yeah. So it's been 1 year since ADCC. I think we might have seen him one time since then.
Yeah.
Right? Now, has he fought Paulo before? Did these guys meet at the Kasai event back in 2018 prior to ADCC? For some reason, I feel like these guys have faced each other there. Am I wrong about that?
Say that again?
Did these two guys meet at Kasai, one of the New York Kasais back in 2018? Do you have Gio's record up or no?
I've pulled it up. Where?
Because it shouldn't have been. For some reason, I think that they did. I think it was in the round robin section of that event. And it might have been a super fight on that card.
Let me see. Gio
Martinez.
Yeah. And it all depends on how I put it into his
Okay. Into the page. Are you putting it through the algorithm?
I'm not an algorithm. It's just searching here.
Okay.
But anyway, I will let you know if I find.
So
something.
I'm curious to see. We've seen a lot from Paulo. We've not seen a ton from Gio. I think Gio got out first round ADCC 2019. Paulo's looked better and better. His nogi has looked better and better. His passing has looked better and better. I'm going to give this on to Paulo just for kind of a number of reasons. It'll be really interesting to see Gio come back after sort of definitely a hiatus, because we've not seen him consistently on the competition scene.
Well, he was on Subversive 2. That was last summer. That was the summer before this past one.
That was before ADCC, right?
Yep. Yeah. It might have been.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
So it's ADCC was the last time we saw him.
Yeah.
And then he got taken out first round, didn't he?
Yeah.
By.
I'm trying to remember. I'll look it up. But yeah, he got knocked out first round.
Yeah, so I'm going to give it to Paulo. A sub would kind of surprise me here, just given that Gio is so notoriously difficult to finish. Like, you got to murder Gio. Like, dude, Satoshi Ishii at Quintet had Gio and lifted him up by a Kimura, like, repeatedly trying to break him in half. Satoshi had to have about 100 pounds, 120 pounds on Gio. Couldn't get it done. So I don't see anyone submitting Martinez, but I'm going to give this to Paulo via like positional work on ref's decision. Next match, we have Luisa Montero versus Natalie Ribeiro, 15-minute sub-only match. Saw Luisa last weekend, looked really, really good. I think that she's going to continue that performance on this week. It wouldn't surprise me to see another leg lock finish here. But again, Ribeiro is good. So this is another really fun one. This one is honestly pretty hard for me to call as well.
Finally got it up, by the way. Yeah, it has been since ADCC, and he got knocked out by Matheus Gabriel.
Okay.
So, yeah, that's a tough one. I mean, we saw Luisa Montero go on a fucking tear.
Right.
She subbed Natalie Jesus.
Mm-hmm. And who else did she sub? Not Sintra. It's been a big week of events.
Yeah. That'll be exciting. I've been impressed with Luisa's finishing capability. So
and Ribeiro is world champion.
Yeah.
So, Nicky Ryan versus Tony Ramos. This is an interesting one. This is Tony Ramos is a wrestler. He's a Buckeye. I'm gonna get it wrong. Very credentialed NCAA wrestler. Again, I am not up to date with the wrestling. I apologize. We just don't foray into that very often. I know he is a very accomplished collegiate wrestler. This is also not a wrestling match.
Yeah, this is a 15-minute sub-only match. That's Nicky Ryan all day.
And Tony said he's been training jiu-jitsu. He's been working jiu-jitsu. He said something on Twitter a couple of days ago when it got posted. He basically, they don't know what I'm working on. So, again, he's a very, very accomplished grappler. I just don't think...
Yeah, I think we're still probably a few years out before we start to see any wrestlers who have picked up submission grappling start to like really take it. I do think that they will, once they commit.
I mean, you can do what Nick Rodriguez did, again, with that level of background, like at the lower weight classes. I think you're going to have to put much more time into it. But if you're a freak athlete and you're like that good at grappling, you learn some submissions and you figure out some defenses. It wouldn't honestly surprise me to see more wrestlers sort of entering into the sport. Yeah. That's why I was so curious about trials. So this will be an interesting match, but I will give it to Nicky Ryan, most likely via heel hook. That's what Nicky does. Nicky is going to pull. He's not going to stand with Tony at all. So we're going to try to see Tony's passing. Tony's going to probably try to jump in, and then Nicky's going to invert and go for the leg. That'd be my guess of how the match goes. Again, I'm not familiar with Ramos at all, but just given historically how we've seen wrestlers perform, that wouldn't surprise me.
Okay. Lastly, we have William Tackett versus Jason Brown, 15 minutes sub only.
It's gonna be a leg lock match.
Yep,
I'm excited for this.
It's gonna be fucking awesome.
Hard to call. Like, dude, Tackett. Like, I'm high on Rao. I'm high on Tackett. Tackett has just had a level of consistency that I really like.
Yep. That's a good way of putting it.
And wait a second, he's on Submission Underground the next day. Isn't
Tackett
he?
is also one of those just
And so is Cody Steele.
complete grapplers. So
Yeah. And he's just been looking better and better and better every single outing, like his stuff on Jits King and
Yep.
who's on previous Who's Number Ones and Fight to Win. I think he's a champion at Fight to Win.
Where did the Tackett strain?
Texas, Austin,
But
the Brazilian Fight Factory.
Okay.
Him, Cody Steele, and then all three Tackett brothers, Andrew, William, and the younger Tackett, whose name I always forget. And then, like, in 2 years, he'll also be
He's
a
gonna
name.
be choking
He'll
himself,
also be
yeah.
a name that we'll know. Like, oh, he fights black belts. You're like, he's like 12. Like, yeah, fights black belts. Like, okay. This will be a fun match. I assume this is going to be a leg lock match. It wouldn't surprise me to see Tackett, try to take Rouse back. But I see this one being very, very close. So that's Who's Number One. I'm amped for it. It's going to be dope. It's going to be probably a pretty decent. Actually, I see a lot of these finishing by sub. So I don't think a lot of these will go 15 minutes, but really nice super fight card. Should be a lot of fun. Any other kind of closing thoughts on that one?
Nope.
All right, moving on to our preview of Submission Underground 18. This one takes place on Sunday, the 4th.
4th of October, yep.
This one's headlined by Vinny Magalhães versus Mason Fowler for the main event.
This is great. I like that Mason is like already being active.
Yeah, and Vinny's coming back.
Yeah, giving him a big challenge in Vinny Magalhães. Vinny, of course, getting nasty sub by Craig Jones.
Twice.
Who Mason Fowler just beat. So
right.
This will be interesting.
In the rule set, it wouldn't surprise. Again, Vinny's a gamer, though. Like, Vinny is so hard to deal with in all positions, and he's such a veteran.
I do think it's going to be much harder for Mason to control Vinny. Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So I still want to kind of lean Mason because he's just looked so good in the submission in the SUG format. Again, Vinny has so much experience; it's hard not to lean on Vinny.
Cage experience is gonna play a factor into this
For Vinny,
yeah.
You think Vinny?
I mean,
both guys fight. Like Mason fights and Vinny fights.
Yeah.
Like both guys are super used to the cage.
That's true,
and that's kind of why again it's super hard to pick here, but I want to lean Mason just because I'm super high on him at SUG. Like I feel like. That's all he's been doing. That's all he's been competing for. It's all he's been training for months and months and months and months. Again, Vinny has notoriously played spoiler many times to other guys in win streaks and hot streaks. But like once you sub Craig Jones, I don't want to pick against you anymore.
Yep.
So I'm going to pick Mason. He's super good at the overtime.
Yeah.
So via overtime there. But Vinny's and 10th Planet guy. So should be a fun match. Super wishy-washy my pick there, Emil.
Leah Tyler versus Kendall Riesling. Taylor Riesling.
Yep.
Or sorry, Leah Taylor versus Kendall Riesling.
I'm gonna go Kendall here.
Yep.
Looked good. Probably gonna impose on the cage, take down, top pressure control. I'm curious to see if she'll have to pull away from the cage here versus Taylor. Arm triangle finish.
Gabriel Checo versus William Tackett.
Excited for this one.
Yep.
This will be the day after Tackett fights Rao for 15 minutes, up to 15 minutes. So I'm curious to see how he's going to deal with that fight.
Fine.
We've seen him do that before. We've seen him go back-to-back days before on multiple events. Dude, Cody Steele is doing the same thing on this one.
Yeah.
I'm super high on Tackett. I do not want to pick against Tackett. Gabriel Checo's looked really good. Again, you don't get that third spot on a SUG without having looked good. He's been, I think the last like 6 or 7 SUGs, like consistently looking good. I just want to go Tackett here because I think he's just on that next level up.
Rafael Domingos versus Keith Kokorian.
I looked it up, Emil. These guys did not face each other at SUG Invitational because they're on opposite sides.
Got it.
For some reason, I was like, did they fight? I always want to make these guys have fought before, but they had not fought. So this will basically give us a match that we didn't see at the SUG Invitational a year and a half ago, I think, or something like that. I'm very curious about how it's going to go. I think I want to lean Krikorian here just because he's been so active on the competition circuit and he's looked so good recently. And beating Emil Fisher, going up 50 pounds in weight to do that.
Yeah.
I just always...
Keith all day.
Yeah, Keith all day.
Brian Neuro versus Cody Steele.
I'm picking Steele here again. Back-to-back weeks. He's on the main card of the Who's Number One card. That kind of speaks to the level that he's at. Yeah. Recent wins over Alex Balding.
He can scrap on the feet.
Yeah, and he knows the cage work. He uses the cage really well. We see him play the rules, really well at SUG. He's going to force the overtime if he wants to, or he can take you down and he can, implement his game plan there. I think we'll most likely see Steele play a little more passive in this match, aim for the overtime, and then finish via, choke in overtime.
Emil Fisher versus Hunter Colvin.
Fun matchup. Kind of interesting dynamic. Both guys are really known leg lockers.
I was about to say, yeah.
Both guys are at 205.
Yep.
I thought Colvin was an 85er, but I looked at his
I thought he was smaller too, yeah.
I looked at his pro record for MMA, and he's light heavyweight, which I was like, wow, I forgot. Didn't know he was that big. I know Fisher's light heavyweight, so very interested in this one. Fisher's gonna go out and do what Fisher does. I'm curious to see if we're gonna see any more stand up from Fisher, or if he's gonna immediately pull and then go for the legs of Colvin. But Colvin they're both really dangerous flash leg lockers, and so I think that's how this will play out. I'm just curious to see how the entries will kind of fold back and forth between the two grapplers.
Next up, Nick Maximov versus Aaron Teagues. Not familiar with them.
Not too familiar with both guys.
Pierre-Olivier Leclerc versus Andy Varela.
Gonna go Pierre here. We've seen him a lot.
TriStar.
Yep, TriStar guy, Henzo guy. Seen him a lot. I'm just more familiar with his game than I am with Andy Valera. I think Andy had a really good match with Cody Steele actually 2 SUGs ago in the tournament. They had a fun back and forth match, and Valera was super tough in the Cody Steele match in the tournament right before Cody fought Wagner.
Pablo Alfonso versus Andrew Alexander.
And we also have Alan Sanchez versus Justin Rennick. We've seen Justin Rennick on Who's Number One on Fight to Win. I think he was a former brown belt title challenger versus Tackett on Fight to Win. We've seen him, on the submission scene for a while, so it's awesome to see him on the card as well. Ooh, that was a big show, Emil.
Yeah, there was a lot in there.
And that's next week we're previewing Pans.
Oh, boy.
So it's going to be recaps of Who Knows Number One, submission number ground 18, and then preview for Pans, which I think the brackets probably won't be out by the time we record the show. But if they are, it'll be fun to preview. Maybe get Zach in to help with that eventually. I think Zach likes to do the gi majors, so we'll probably pop him in if he can do it. He'll probably preview and then do recap. No pressure, Zach. If you can't make it, you should be on the show. So what else you got going on this week?
That's it, man. It's
anything fun?
No, I'm just fucking chilling out, man.
I'm just hunting.
Yeah.
Got another deer.
Got another one?
Another one, Emil.
Sweet.
I'm DJ Khaled in here.
Yo, what happened?
I got up in a tree super early in the morning, and then a deer came across, and I went, boop, and then I got a deer.
Was it bigger than the last one?
Maybe.
No?
I want to talk about it, Emil.
I'm sorry, dude.
It was all right.
I didn't mean to bring up a sore subject.
It was...
but that's dope.
Yeah, I'm going to get better at this. So yeah, that was good. Also playing a ton of Among Us, which is...
That looks fucking awesome.
Yeah, Josh Weinstock of the Grappling Rewind wants us to all to get together and play it. I'm like, that would be atrocious.
It's just going to be fucking screaming. It's going to be Josh screaming the whole time. It's going to
be me screaming, Josh screaming, you'll get upset, you'll start screaming.
Yeah, no, I will absolutely.
Rachel starts screaming. Simon will scream at us. Like a whole team, I feel like, is yelling video gamers. And so I don't know how much, I don't know what kind of gamer Zach is, but it wouldn't surprise me either way. I feel like that's going to be just crazy. But, so that's been my week. Other than that, yeah, not a whole lot else going on. I cannot wait for a vaccine to come out so we can get back to normal life and competing and everything else. But, stay safe, stay healthy. We have some super fun events next week. I am looking forward to it. Any closing thoughts, Emil?
No, man.
All right, as always in the show, I'm your host, Maine, to my co-host,
Emil.
And we got the Grappling Rewind. We will see you on the mats whenever that is. Stay safe. If you like the show, please consider sharing it on Facebook with the folks at your gym. It's the best way that we grow the show, and we really appreciate it. You can reach out to us on email.
We also have Instagram. We have Facebook. We have Twitter. We have Google+.
Until that shuts down.
We have a website.
If you have an event you would like to have us cover, please let us know. If you have a name, like most people do, and you'd like to have us stop butchering it,
let us know.
Reach out to us. The show is also available on YouTube, Spotify, in addition to iTunes and every other podcast service. We very much appreciate your time, and thank you.